Hey everybody, the guy Matthew, and welcome to a great weekend of games here on college football. Top 25 picks week 4. Got 6 ranked v ranked games this weekend off the AP poll, which is what I go off of. 7 in the coaches poll because they have Clemson ranked. But yeah, let's hop straight into it. We're gonna start with a bit of a stinker though. Georgia UAB. Georgia, is it Georgia looked bad or South Carolina looked good last weekend is the question. Brock Bowers has felt underused and a bit invisible. At times, I'm not gonna lie, this year for dogs for me, but not gonna change today. Georgia, I think, still some calls for Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator. Oh, I fucked up his name. I apologize if I did, but yeah, still calls him. Hey, not as good. But Georgia cruises against UAB. Jim Harbaugh returns for Michigan as they continue to play at the Big House 4th straight home game. With undefeated Rutgers, never thought I'd be saying that, but never cupcake to be real. With you on Michigan's schedule, never cupcake. Harbaugh returns. Michigan looks better than they have all year, in my opinion. Michigan cruises easy to a win against Rutgers. Texas and Baylor, they split the last 4 meetings, with Baylor winning both in Waco and losing both in Austin. This one's in Waco, but Baylor, not a good team this year. Texas, some struggles versus Wyoming last week, but pulled away in the fourth quarter. I didn't see that game. I saw the big Xavier Lovie touchdown, but if you're tied 10-10 with Wyoming entering the fourth, that's a bad week. Texas was almost back to being Texas is back, but not actually back. If that makes any sense. It's not like a fucking Chili's ad from a few years ago. Nonetheless, think Baylor might got a shot to keep this thing close, but no shot to win in my opinion. As Lee Coastal would say, Baylor has 2 shots, slim and none. Yeah, love Lee Coastal by the way, the goat of game day. Texas cruises easy. Alright, the first big boy this weekend. Florida State and Clemson. Florida State has not won in Death Valley since 2013, has not beaten Clemson since 2014, the inaugural playoff year. And the final playoff year, I have the Noles beating them. They won in the first playoff year, lose. They won in the first playoff year, won in the last 14 playoff year, to be clear. As I have FSU upsetting Clemson, FSU survives a scale against Boston College last week, while Clemson blew out someone else, FAU, I think it was. But Clemson, they got blown up by 21 to Duke. No offense to Duke, but Duke wasn't a top 25 team preseason. Florida State was considered a playoff team preseason by some. I saw them on the outside looking in. I was wrong about LSU. They definitely have a great shot to get it in. I'm on the Knowles bandwagon. Like, I know it's on the road, but still, a noon game, not the same atmosphere as a night game at Tiger Stadium for Clemson. I just think Dabble, like the Dynasty, like Clemson might be back to seeing like a 10-2 New York 6 ACC champ, like ACC went up to Florida State, and not the playoff team they once were. But Dabble could prove me wrong. Nonetheless, gonna be a close game, though I will say. But give me FSU to beat Clemson for the first time in 9 years, and first time in 10 years in Death Valley. Alright, USC, Arizona State, Arizona State. That was I saw I had like 7 or 8 turnovers last week. I saw in the box score against Fresno State. Well, the Sultan's defense will not do that because USC doesn't know what the word defense means. Or more accurately, excuse me, Lincoln Riley doesn't know what the word defense means. But Arizona State also doesn't know how to beat USC this year, in my opinion. Trojans, Caleb Williams cruise easily to win. Alright, the next big boy on the table, Ohio State and Notre Dame. I want to touch on this. The Notre Dame running back, Audric Estime, I apologize for pronouncing that wrong, but if this was like 10 years ago, or even even 10, but like 20 years ago, he'd gone or like Heisman attention. He's having a fantastic year. Don't get me wrong, Sam Hartman's helped with Notre Dame, but Estime's been a fantastic for the Irish this year. Underrated. Meanwhile, Ohio State last week against Western Kentucky finally showed up. Not against top competition, but Marvin Harrison, Kyle McCall got that connection going. Finally put up the offensive all been so used to in the Lion Day era at Ohio State. But I do not like this from Ohio State. Left your starters in to run up the score. While you look at some other schools, like Penn State last week against Illinois pulled their starters late, even though that game was much closer. We'll touch on that game more in a second. And yeah, I'm still not a fan of that from Ohio State. Sorry if you hear my camera background. He's just at my feet right now. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Notre Dame in their green jerseys. Are they coast? Who knows? Might be, might not be. But gonna be a tough game. But Ohio State has had offensive struggles. They've had one good offensive game by Vail standards this year, which speaks to how high Vail stands are, but they haven't impressed me from what I've seen from the Buckeyes this year. CM Hartman, he's impressed me this year. Like, estimate, Notre Dame looks like Marcus Lee and White High on New Year's 6 contender, playoff contender if they can get by this one. We'll have to see if they can get by this one. But I do have them getting by this one. That's right. In South Bend, green jerseys, doesn't matter. Notre Dame upsets Ohio State. In my hot takes video a couple weeks ago, I said Ohio State would lose at least 2 games this year. One to Michigan, one to Penn State. I said they'd lose 2, and possibly lose to Notre Dame. And have to see how Sam Hartman was with the Irish and put Ryan in the hot seat. Well, first sign of the seat warming up to this weekend as Notre Dame in South Bend upsets Ohio State. Give me the Irish to win. Up next, Iowa Penn State, a big game, in the Big Ten. For Penn State, you have to get by them if you want to make it, before you got Ohio State in a few weeks. And it's the Wild game, so that's big, but round of applause, everyone. Iowa put up more than fucking 20 points in the game. Holy shit. I can't believe it. Ryan Fallon's gonna keep his job. But I don't think so. Definitely gonna be a close game. This one, Iowa, Penn State always play tough. That Trace McSorley touchdown like 6 or 7 years ago in Iowa City late. That was a good close one. A couple years ago, I've seen Iowa City, Iowa squeaks by Penn State. So, gonna be another close one. Drew Allen struggled at times last week against Penn State, but Penn State also forced 5 turnovers versus Illinois as Allen struggled, and Singleton and Allen. Offense struggled as a whole for Penn State. But Iowa offense coming up with some momentum, 40 points, doesn't matter. They're going to run into a buzzsaw of that Nittany Lion defense, Shop Robinson, Adisa Isaac, Kalen King, Colby King. Yeah, and that gonna be a defensive game, but buzzsaw Penn State's defense doesn't have a good offense. That whiteout game, that's gonna play. Beaver seems to be rocking most electric atmosphere in the country this weekend. I don't care what you say, Penn State whiteout, best. Penn State already has the best fans in the country. Well, I'm a Penn State fan, so you can call me biased, but Penn State whiteout, by far the best atmosphere in college football. I think Al does struggle at times with Iowa, but does show he's grown from last week. Give me Penn State to win a close defensive battle in Happy Valley. Alright, Cal Washington. Michael Penix might be the most underrated player in college football. Like, no one talks about him because of Shedeur Sanders and Caleb Williams. And no one continues to talk about him because it's Cal, and no one really pays attention to them. Sorry, but yeah. Got 2 ways to see as of Washington. Romeo Odume. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And Penix, obviously. Penix and Washington cruise to another win. Alright, another big game up next. I'm gonna say that's a heavyweight game, I'm sorry. Like, I have to now. I've said it for the first 4 big ones, so I'm gonna have to. Colorado and Oregon. Colorado throwing that double last week against Colorado State. And I stayed up till 2:30 or whatever the fuck it was to watch that game, and felt like shit the next couple days. Also because I still have to watch the name football, but that's besides the point. But yeah, it's a great game. Oregon Cruise versus Hawaii and the Rainbow Warriors. 0 turnovers for Bo Nix so far in the year. And Oregon by far is Deion's toughest test yet. TCU, Nebraska, are they good teams? TCU's bounced back nicely, but are they still a good team? We don't know. Then obviously Nebraska's bad as well as Colorado State. So this is by far Deion's toughest test, yes, and on the road toughest atmosphere in Autzen Stadium. And the Ducks have Dan Lanning, who, we saw Shedeur Sanders has struggled at times. Lanning, a defensive guy, coached that great defense a couple years ago at Georgia. And obviously the Buffs will be out without Travis Hunter. That was a dirty sheep shot. I'll be honest with you, I hate that he's out for this game as an Oregon fan. It's all like, you want to beat a team when they're at their best, not when they're down someone. But Bo Nix, 0 turnovers, definitely going to be a close one. Deion is real. But I don't think the Buffs get it done. I think Bo Nix can expose some weaknesses. Oregon, I think it can get more physical, expose the weaknesses on the trenches, both sides. Colorado can't run the ball. Oregon's got the speed in the secondary to keep up with these receivers to limit Colorado, and they've got the speed on the other side and the run game to beat Colorado in the trenches. And Bo Nix, obviously, I think, has experience in big games like this, while Shedeur doesn't really have an experience on like this big a stage yet in a top 20 game. So give me Oregon to win a close shootout, a shootout, but a close game against the Buffs as Dion gets his first loss. Oregon wins. UCLA and Utah next. Dante Moles looked really good so far. For the Bruins, they're off to a good start. And I'm not sure if I think Cam Rising's still out this week for Utah. If I could be wrong, I apologize if I do. But either way, I'm going with Utah. Utah just look like typical Utah, really solid all around, flying under everyone's radar. And the Bruins, Dante Moore, Lake Steelers, I might be pronouncing that wrong, but Salt Lake City could be walking with the Utes. Utah's been great at home in the Whittingham era. Think they can give Mole some issues, and I think the Utes just continue to be Utah. Just consistent, find ways to win, win close games, and yeah, give me Utah to win. All right, Arkansas and LSU. Wow, we gotta wait this long for our first decent SEC matchup. How far have they fallen? Can't wait for them to prove me wrong. But Arkansas LSU, I thought Mississippi could keep it close. Boy, was I wrong, as LSU blew them out. As that, oh god, that was Neighbors, that's it. Who had a great game for LSU and Jaden Daniels. As Arkansas lost to BYU, night game, Tiger Stadium, second best atmosphere probably in college football behind the White House, second best fans probably behind Penn State to LSU. Arkansas doesn't have really a chance, and I'm just being honest. They've struggled to run the ball this year with Rocket Sanders and their quarterback, whose name I just can't think of right now. I apologize. I think LSU continues to show week one, while they got outplayed basically the third quarter, they still played well at times that game. Show that, hey, we might have lost week one, but we're still a playoff team. LSU wins handily against Arkansas. Ole Miss, Alabama. Can Lane Kiffin hand Nick Saban his first second September loss since 2007? And Alabama, after that that was just an awful game last week to watch against USF. Can they rebound? As they put Jalen Milroe back in the starting job? As, he's thrown some picks against Texas, but Texas does have one of the highest blue chip rates in the country. And Ole Miss, defense, Pete Golding, former Tide coordinator, revenge game for him. Definitely think Ole Miss can keep it close. I think Bama continues to struggle, like we've seen. I think Miller does have some mistakes, but I think his running ability is going to be able to, outsmart Pete Golding as the reason the Tide ran him out of town. Probably because he wasn't as good as Alabama once, so I believe that. As Ole Miss, Jackson Dot, they can't. It's about the trenches. Can Ole Miss capitalize on Alabama's weaknesses at quarterback and in the trenches, both sides? I don't think they'll be able to. They have a great running back, so that they'll be able to hold Alabama. But I feel like Jackson Dot will struggle at times, make a couple mistakes that will give Bama a chance to win. And it we're acting like the dynasty could be dead. It probably is dead for Alabama. I'm gonna say. I can't wait to eat my words when they win it this year, probably. But the dynasty is probably dead for Alabama. But they are still an elite team, have elite talent. I won't say elite team, but elite talent. They have the best coach in the history of the game. He hates losing against former assistants. I don't see it happening. Give me Alabama to beat Ole Miss close in a fun one at Tuscaloosa. Alright. Two of America's favorite teams this year, Oregon State and Washington State, hate to see that happen to them. They really deserve to be in the Power 5 conference. It's not going to happen. They're probably going to join the Mountain West. One of them will going to get the leap on the other in the Pac-12 race to the title. DJU's rebounded somewhat nicely, I'd say, after the stint at Clemson. As Cam Ward continues to be one of the most underrated players in America. That's the word of today's episode, the underrated episode. But yeah, as Washington State Cam Ward continues to be underrated, as Washington State isn't. I think that's about fair. In Pullman, this could be a tough atmosphere for the Beavs and Jonathan Smith, head coach. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, pulling off the upset against Wisconsin, and I think that happens. DJU, besides that, his spot start against Notre Dame in 2020 when Lawrence had COVID, has struggled in big games and on the road. I think that translates. Hill Pullman's going to be walking. I think Cam Ward continues to light up and finally get the attention he deserves as a legit candidate for the Heisman. Well, outside, but still a legit candidate. As I think Ward outduels DJU. Oregon State makes some mistakes on offense. I think Washington State just plays all around a more complete game. Really like their head coach. I can't think of his name right now. I apologize. That's also a theme of today's episode, but really great head coach at Washington State and Oregon State. Obviously, Jonathan Smith's great there, but yeah, I think Washington State gets the upset in Pullman. Give me Wazoo. Alright, Oklahoma and Cincinnati. Cincinnati had that shocking loss to Miami of Ohio. First home game in the Big 12, so think the crowd will be a bit raucous, in Nipples, but doesn't matter. Oklahoma has too much talent. Venables has rebounded nicely to start year two, as Oklahoma's first big test will be in a couple weeks in the Red River rivalry. As give me Oklahoma to win pretty easily. UNC Pitt. Hey, Pana, easy. What was that? Penn State's offense being one-dimensional. Oh, you only put up 6 points when Penn State put up 35 against West Virginia. Too bad, bum. Yeah. As, Pitt lost the backyard ball last week. Drake May, North Carolina, just a bit of an ugly one, I'd say, against Minnesota last week. But Drake May, is going to continue to play great, I think. North Carolina just better than Pitt all around. Drake May's the different. I mean, just better team all around. I don't know what else you mean to say. I think UNC's better all around, like I've just said like 5 times. So give me the Tar Heels to win. Duke and UConn. UConn had a bowl season last year. Only this year, Mike Elko building something special at Duke. Will you look elsewhere at possibly the Michigan State job, or if Jimbo does get fired by the Aggies, will they go back to their former defensive coordinator? Like could that happen? But right now, building something special at Duke, as that continues to be Duke wins. Ryland also underrated. Miami Temple. Miami is gonna win pretty easily. I don't know what else you want me to say. Miami blows out Temple. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. UTSA Tennessee could be a tricky game for the Vols, as the offense has not looked good this year compared to last year. I mean, week one against UVA, but still. Difficult loss in the swamp last week. Had to bone some timeouts. Just some bad management by Heppel, and that's a criticism I had of him at UCF a couple times, like some really bad clock management he's had. And people forget this before he got the Tennessee job. He was on the hot seat at UCF. I have a friend who's a Knights fan, and he's like, hey, we were getting on him. We were happy that he left for Tennessee and we got Gus Malzahn. We felt pretty good about that because they kind of fell off a bit after Scott Frost left. Nonetheless, though, UTSA, good team last year, finished ranked inside the top 25 rank. I think so. I think this game's gonna be close. Kind of close to kind of arms length close, as Tennessee continues to struggle but manages to get it done as Tennessee wins. Florida Charlotte, consider me wrong about Florida. They could still be bad this year, but very impressive win in the swamp last week, and the Utah Falcons looked better than I thought against Utah in week one. So can Naples get the upward trajectory going in the swamp in year two? We'll have to see, but I think the upward trajectory does continue this week as Florida beats Charlotte pretty handily. And to wrap things up, fun little nugget. I have A&M beating Auburn. That's just SEC game and just a fun little nugget. Give me A&M in that one. So to recap, I have Georgia, Michigan, Texas, FSU, USC, Notre Dame, Penn State, Washington, Oregon, Utah, LSU, Alabama, Washington State, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Duke, Miami, Tennessee, and Florida all winning. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys later. Later, guys.